The Beacon. Welcome to Center of Light. Good to see you. And while we're at it,
access granted.
Tonight is Center of Light Composure. Anger and violence. There's a fire brewing in the belly. It gets hot. What makes me such the expert? I lived it for many years. Many tears. Anger. Violence. I was never really a violent person. But I had a lot of anger. Pent up. We'll talk about pent up a little later. Blow up. Show up. Mature. I had to grow up. And over the course of my life, thank God, I was given some grace to sort of cool down. I had to cool down. I had to learn how to cool down. Anger is a son of a bitch, let me tell you. Feels good. The adrenaline rush is popping. But it comes back and starts popping us upside our own head. Hello, everyone. Dr. KK. Robert. See what's happening on YouTube. Robert is on YouTube as well. Fantastic. See, Robert, he's a magician. He can bilocate. He's in two places at one time. Right. Move a couple things around. It's good to see you, folks. Welcome. As always, I want to say thank you to Dr. Katie Camara. We have almost reached our goal. Thank you, everyone who supported Center of Light, supporting Center of Light. Be it in a monetary gift, sharing, or praying over. Thank you greatly. Doing a couple things I have to learn while I am online. It is what it is. All right, let's continue to move forward. Power. Information is power. Being in a formation is the power itself, which creates breakthroughs in our lives and connection to love, the source itself, which is, I'd say, definitely the opposite, at least on the spectrum of anger and violence. You see, love, as we already know, is not a mere sentiment. It's not, come here, baby, give me some sugar. It is, but it's greater and deeper than that. It is very important that you stay internally referenced to monitor your feelings, Are you such a one that is a quick trigger to the gun? I was. Hello, beautiful Rena. Happy birthday to you, Rena. Happy birthday to you, Rena. Happy birthday, lovely Rena. Happy birthday to you, Rena. Hello, Bo James. What's up, my bro ham sandwich? Tonight is Center of Light, Composure, Anger and Violence. Anger. In any spin, you will never win. Whatever your situation is. Blame, blame, blame. Shame, shame, shame. Game, game, game. You're welcome, Rena. Same, same, same. You will never get out of your anger until you take responsibility. No matter what is happening in your life. Do you want something different? Then you have to do something different. Do you want something different? Then you have to do something different. Obviously, the same thing that we do over and over does not work. Red Rover, send whoever right over. So tonight is Center of Light, Composure. How do we bring ourselves back to a space of composure? Violence does not necessarily, tonight is Center of Light, Composure, Anger and Violence. Violence does not necessarily happen because of anger in the moment. Look at war. They're not starting wars out of anger. I am mad at Russia or the Ukraine. Well, the Ukraine might be mad at Russia, if that story is even true at all. But that's really not what's happening in the political war situation, but rather control and greed. Now they can have, now, let me put it to you this way. Even though pent up anger per se in the moment has nothing to do with violence, except over the course of one's life, that it's been embedded in the psyche, the subconscious, but rather control and greed. Now they can have unresolved, very deep-rooted anger within them as to why they launched their desire to control for greed, war. Violence happens when anger has been so pent up with nowhere to go, and one or collective group finds a target to release it upon. Upon? You are a pawn. No, that's not what you are. That's what they hope and think you would believe that you are. But you are not a pawn. Fear is the opposite of anger. All right? So the question now becomes, fear of what? Not being in, say it with me, class, control. Hello, Kelly. Fear is the opposite of anger. Fear of what? Perfect question. Not being in control. Anger is the inner fire out of control. Anger is the inner fire out of control. Think about what it's like to get angry. God! Bruh! Think what it's like to get angry. Ah! Get it? It's a fire. It's your inner love fire out of fucking control. And it consumes everything. You, to start with. And then it wants to burn the whole house down. How do I know that? Because I was there. But over the course of my life, I'm still learning how to cool down. Anger, it's a drug. For those who are submersed in it, they're ready for a fix. But you can't fix it in the way that one might imagine, by making everyone to stop doing what they're doing that pisses me off. It doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. If it did, or you're having any success in your spells, your bouts, your tempers, your tantrums of anger, if it did work, you would have won. Danger, danger. Anger, anger. Violence happens when anger has been so pent up with nowhere to go and one finds a target to release it upon. Fear is the opposite of anger. Fear of what? Not being in control. Anger is the inner fire burning out of control. I don't want to go there, but it is truly the perfect. You did make it, Kelly. Thank you. God bless you, dear. I have something for you a little bit later. But it is the perfect analogy. It's a perfect example. This Will Smith, Chris Rock. Real or not, does not matter whatsoever. In, out, up, down, all around, all about. It doesn't matter. What matters, or shouldn't matter, is that everyone immediately jumped with everything they have into the hunt of this reality / facade. Even a rod. Dear God, it caught millions and gazillions of people. If you're plugging into violence, a slap, I get it, but he's protecting his woman. I get that as well. But if you're plugging into violence in any sort, from anger, I'm mad at what you just did, real or not, with that many people behind you, supporting you, millions of people, you are plugging into a consciousness that will take you nowhere but deeper into the unconscious, I will eat you alive fire. I don't respond. I don't get into it. I'm not interested in it. I want to cool down. I want to go to the ocean, chill the fuck out. You see, all the people who plugged into this experience a couple days ago, yesterday, you see, they understand anger. We all understand anger, but using this group, not using, but for example purposes, they understand anger, and it hurts, rightfully so. So a solution is to no longer connect with the trauma consciousness and to rise above it. Well, Keith, it's just all in fun. It's something funny that happened in the world. Ah, I hear you. Lots of times, humor disguises trauma. Tonight is Sin of Light Composure. You have to compose yourself. I'm going into it. I'm catching myself. And then I'm going into it. I'm catching myself. These intervals become shorter and shorter. You begin to catch yourself. I understand it's justified in your own mind that your anger, your pointing finger, Your violence because of it. Anger. Violence does not necessarily mean hitting. Violence is coming at yourself, a group, individuals, with such anger that if you were next to me, I would slap you across your face. Anger can be violence. What does the Buddha say about anger? The Christ principle. Buddha and Christ, Buddha, let me say that again. Siddhartha, what's his name? Siddhartha Gautama and Christ are the same word in two different tongues. Let me say that again. Siddhartha and Jesus are two different beings under the same umbrella, which is Buddha and Christ. It's two different pronunciations. What does the Buddha, Christ oversoul, say about anger? Beware of anger of the mind and control thy mind! ! Leave the sins of the mind and practice virtue of the mind. The wise who control their body, who control their tongue, the wise who control their mind, are indeed well controlled. You will not be punished for your anger. You will be punished by your anger. You are the first victim of your own anger. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Whosoever does not flare up at someone who's angry, in other words, someone is angry in front of me versus me being the angry one. Here's a twist, or whosoever does not flare up at someone who's angry wins a battle hard to win. Is depression, here is for someone who sent me a message this morning. I said I was going to include what you asked about, and so here we go. You know who you are. Is depression? They contacted me this morning and spoke a little bit about their depression. And this is where this fits into tonight's presentation on anger. Violence, depending on who you are. But is depression, anger, inside out? From my experience, it's exactly what it is. Sigmund Freud famously said that depression is anger turned inward. Depression is a complex and widespread mental health illness whose origins cannot be oversimplified, and much research has called Freud's theory into question. For some, unexpressed anger can play a large role in depression. What does anger turned inward mean? Inwardly turned anger in depression may reflect an overly critical negative inner voice. Whoever you are that sent me this message this morning, just check yourself, don't judge. Is there a negative inner voice that makes it hard for you to move past feelings, but also move the feelings from the past, to move past feelings of shame? It may also lead to feelings of low self-worth. And for the person who contacted me this morning, I'm going to say, knowing you lovingly, blessedly, I say that would be true for you. So what do you do? What do I do, Keith? You reflect, you look at those things that you think are grabbing hold of you. They are grabbing hold of you. So lovingly grab them back. Bring them back to yourself. You can't get rid of it. You don't want to get rid of it. It's your wisdom. It is your delicious wisdom. So what you can do is become an alchemist and transmute it, fix it, fur it into something else. You're an artist. You're a master pottery person. You can take this energy and wield it and manipulate it. look at everything I just discussed and share with you and see how your depression is when you cannot control a situation from your past. I can't control it. I'm going to try. And sometimes, even in our trying, we know it doesn't work. And so we still keep trying, but we never vent it out. We never really get angry. Then it becomes violence. Violence against others, namely, John Doe, ourself. I know you were doing this already, but it's now about recognizing what's going on versus seeing or thinking what's going on and continually to be unconsciously mad at yourself. Just be done. I'm done. There's nothing else to do. I'm done. But if I let this go, it's not gonna lose its meaning. It's gonna give it true meaning. Okay. I'm going to share a video now with all of us, but designed by my beautiful friend who's in the forum, about anger turned inward creates depression.
Hey guys, I'm going to do a real quick video on depression, and I'm going to start it with why I'm doing it. I was just in a meeting with a bunch of clinicians, and we get together and we talk about different issues that our clients are struggling with, and we try to problem solve the best we can. And getting a perspective from a bunch of different people really helps, as opposed to just a clinician practicing all by themselves and not having an opportunity to share it with other professionals. Good doctors do that. I'm sure good mechanics do that. Good plumbers do that. It's always good to get outside input. So we're talking about depression, and it starts with this kind of psychobabble stuff. It's stuff that we talk about, but the part of it that kind of irritates me is sometimes therapists talk in terms that make it sound so theoretical as opposed to what is concrete, what can people take from things and use. So that's what I'm going to share with you real quick. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Dr. Jerry Grosso, the clinical director at Insight Psychology and Addiction in Newport Beach, California. And my goal of these videos is to help you guys understand mental illness no different than you understand physical illness. Physical illness, you want to get physical health. If you're struggling with mental illness or emotional illness, you really want to get to emotional health. That's stuff we need to talk about, stuff we need to work through, because life can get much more enjoyable. There's difficult things out there, but it doesn't have to stay that way. So talking about depression, theoretically it came up, depression is really anger turned inwards. Okay, so that's based on a couple of theories that people identify that theorists and clinicians identify as that, and you guys may already know this, but that depression is really anger manifesting itself inward, where people are taking anger that they have on outside things out on themselves. Now, I'm going to take it further and look at it. Okay, what about anger? Why is that person angry? We all struggle with anger. It's a normal emotion. But then again, psychobabble, psychology, you hear, well, that's a surface emotion. So I want you guys to kind of think about it. You may have heard this example before. You have a big iceberg, the part you see above the water. You think, oh, well, that's huge. Well, that's anger. But really, below the surface, there's a lot more stuff. The iceberg is way bigger under the water, and that is the same with anger. So let's kind of break this down to what we can actually do with this. Okay, let's say I can acknowledge I'm depressed. Well, what's depression real quick? It could be like the symptoms. My mood is very low most of the day for most days. I have poor concentration. I have difficulty or disturbance of my appetite, sleep, and it's hard to focus, and overall my mood just might be bad. Okay, so I can identify, let's say I have some of those, maybe it's depression. Then I can look at it, maybe I am angry and I'm frustrated. Well, there's actually other emotions that are below the anger, and we kind of narrowed it down in our conversation to two. I'm not saying these are the only two, but these are two big ones. One is fear, and the other is hurt. So I might look at it, I'm feeling kind of down and depressed. Why? Well, maybe I'm kind of angry and frustrated with certain things. And what's underneath that anger? Well, it could be hurt, and it could be fear. So now let's kind of look at a solution. Where can I go with that? Let's just say that's true. What is the opposite of fear? Opposite of fear is courage. What is the opposite of hurt? The opposite of hurt could be strength. Okay, so This is something that I'm hoping maybe you guys can kind of think about a little bit and take it with you. We can build on it and talk about it more in another video, but if I'm struggling with anger, I might look at it. Is something going on in my life, a relationship or incident or interaction with somebody, or just kind of where I'm at, and I'm feeling some fear? I would want to identify what that fear is, and then I would want to think about courage. What is the courage that I could use to overcome that fear? Okay? And if it's hurt, if I was hurt by somebody else, whether it's somebody in my past, somebody in my present, or I'm hurt by something, I could look at it, what was that hurt? And what is the strength that I need to develop to get over that, to make sure it never happens again? So again, the point of this video, I know it was short, I just wanted to get it out to you guys, that if I'm struggling with something like depression, I look at, okay, depression, below that I have anger, below that I might have fear, and I might have hurt, and really what I need to focus on is on courage, and I need to focus on strength. Those do take work and it takes effort. Therapy can be more complex than that, but I at least wanted to give you some things to think about. So again, this is Dr. Jerry Grosso from Insight Psychology and Addiction in Newport Beach, California. If you guys have questions for me, please feel free to send them in. You can reach us at info@insightrecovery.com. That's NSIGHT recovery.com. And again, until I see you guys in the next video, continue to grow.
Welcome back to Center of Light. Tonight is Center of Light, Composure, Anger, and Violence.
Access granted.
We all have access to a beautiful space that is creation. I understand anger. How can you tell when you're doing better, when you're moving out of anger? You may get moved by said situations, but you no longer resolve to launch yourself from this place, because it's not really a space, it's a place of just going unconsciousness. I call space falling into a space, a deliberate beingness. Composure. You have to learn, integrate, implement how to compose yourself. Anger is a hell of a current. It leads to violence, to the dark side. I know about anger turned inward is depression. All those years ago, it changed my life. It was a stepping stone. It was no longer an excuse or an unconsciousness. I saw, felt what was happening. Monitor your feelings. Feeling is the gate to the party. Think about this. All those years ago, short fuse, quick to draw, I would fall into the fire of the devil. It's never really violent physically, but if words could kill, you wouldn't exist from that point. But we have to cool down. Go on some vacay to the ocean, somewhere to get away, even inside of yourself. It takes courage. What is the opposite of fear, as Doctor said, Grosso? Fear is the opposite of courage. Courage is the opposite of fear. It's courage. You have to be courageous. Conquering your anger about something that is not happening the way you want it to go is Mount Everest. In fact, it's a mountain taller than Everest itself. Hello, beautiful Melindage, my broham sandwich, Lewis. Mount Everest. That's pretty high. Anger. It's a big monster. It's the cookie monster. You want more cookies. Because when we have the opportunity to be angry, when we are an angry individual, as a default posture, it's a drug. It's like whatever drug that you fancy, if you fancy one at all, but you get the idea, big or small. So now we're going to move into tonight's presentation. Cameo appearances. Not really cameo. They've been here before. I got someone who's going to make a cameo. I got others I'm going to include. So I have to bury these audio bites in music. I don't want to get a panking on my social media hiney. I am not stealing. I am sharing those who are caring enough to create such dialogue. They would probably agree. It's everybody in the administry who is whatever. So right now, Sadhguru. Anger. We can talk about anger all we want, but nothing happens until we begin to fall into what do we do about it? What do you do about it? Actually, we're going to go into my mistake. I have 4 videos. I'm used to 3. Right now, we're going to go into the Buddhism take on anger. Listen closely. Here. Here. There you go. Here. Listen here. Hold it dear. Bring it near. If you're such a one, I understand looking out into the world and we see lots of depressed, angry individuals. Understood. It's still through the filter of our own depression, anger, and violence. For example, Swamiji shared with me, I love everyone absolutely and completely and love to be with them every day, all the time. So to support my point, he doesn't even have moments of disagreeing with the world. That's not where he's coming from. That's the lesson. That's the blessing. Is to simply be in love. I am in love. With what? It doesn't matter. It's all of it. I'm just simply in love itself, God itself, the highest idea, the pinnacle of creation itself, that which is the bedrock and the center of light within all of us, foundation that holds every nation together simply by the grace and the sustenance of love itself. I'm in love. It doesn't matter what you're in love with. Any aspect of your life that you're in love with, you're congruent with the highest truth. So in the highest truth, when we become congruent with everything all the time, we are in love. And I don't mean I'm in love, giddy. I am in the process of love. The Buddhist take on anger and how to resolve, get out of it, get into it rather.
Do you ever get angry that the clouds are traveling too slowly, or that the leaves on a tree are changing color or falling off, or that it suddenly starts to rain? You can't be angry at these things because you have no control over them whatsoever. But it's also a fact that you have no control over how other people choose to behave or act, and yet we feel we have the right to be angry at other people, even though they're just acting on their free will. So what is at the root of this destructive emotion? Buddha says that at the root is a little bit of ourself, a self that has an attachment to the idea that people should behave in a certain way, and we should get what we want as an entitlement. It's a part of us that feels entitled to something and then has a tantrum, and when this doesn't happen, we react with anger. Buddha talked about the isness of this moment. This supersedes any anger you may have. To accept the isness of this moment takes us out of our own entitlement and into reality, and not dwelling on what we think should happen or shouldn't happen. Our attachment to certain outcomes in our mind and aversion to what we don't want is what Buddha taught to be the root cause of much of our suffering. And this is, of course, central to anger. So realizing that entitlement is at the root of anger is actually liberating, because it puts the responsibility back onto us. Because when you're trapped in anger, it cripples you. It's only when you go past the anger that you can act properly.
Welcome back to Sin of Light. Tonight we're speaking about anger and violence. Violence. Haven't spoken much about it, but we don't really per se need to. When anger becomes to a rolling boil in your life pot on the stove, so much so that there's no room left to grow. Not only in your spirituality, but also no room left to grow in the anger. It's surface tension, it's the edge of the wall of the balloon. It's going to pop. And then we're going to pop somebody. Anger. Look around the world. A lot of the violence you see in the world is stimulated from anger. Pent-up anger. Some of the violence you see in the political world, most of the violence you see in the political world, is not per se stemmed from anger whatsoever, at least in the moment. I'm not mad at Russia. You can bet if that is true in and of itself, Ukraine is mad at Russia, but Russia is not mad at Ukraine. Whoever it is, it's all insane. They're doing it because of greed and control. But now the question becomes, where does said greed and control come from? Childhood unresolved trauma and anger and depression. Trying to be in control, because the political elites, that's exactly what they want. It's control. So it is rooted deeply in anger. Hello, beautiful Elaine. Video number 2. How do we get out of anger? We can talk about anger and violence all we want, but it does no good if there's no solution. Problem, reaction, solution. Problem. That was meant in conspiracy theory, but now, problem. I'm looking in the mirror and I am an angry individual. Reaction. I don't like it. And then you turn that within yourself, creates depression. Solution. Stop it. That's it. Just stop it. And before I go into this Sadhguru bit, they are fucking with the weather. Geoengineering, they are screwing with the weather. Sadhguru.
Sadhguru, my question is, what are we supposed to do when we are angry, and how to deal with deep-rooted anger?
It depends who is the victim. Suppose you're angry with your mother, you behave one way. You're angry with your friend another way. You're angry with your professor, completely different way. Yes or no? So, who is your victim right now? Accordingly, you should do. But now, you are asking this question as if anger is a natural part of you. Are you angry right now? What's your name? Rohini, are you angry right now? No. Then why are you bothered about anger? Once in a way you get angry. Yes? You get angry. Anger doesn't happen to you. You get angry. You like it? You don't like it? Then why do you do it? See, around us so many people will do so many things that we don't like. Yes or no? So many things in Mumbai happening, things that we don't like are every day happening. But at least within you, only what you want should happen within this, isn't it? Huh? I cannot decide that only what I want should happen with you, but I can definitely decide only what I want must happen within me, isn't it? If you could decide only what you want should happen within you, would you choose anger or joy? What's your choice? Please choose, I'm going to bless you. See, you want the highest level of pleasantness for yourself, isn't it? Then why is such a thing not happening? As I said earlier, you never read the user's manual. How this functions has not been looked at. Do not go by the example of people who came here a few years earlier than you. That, no, my mother also was like that, my grandmother also was getting angry, so I am also getting angry. They should not be the leading lights of your life. I want you to look at it. Your thought, your emotion, your body must happen the way you want, isn't it? Huh? If somebody else can decide what should happen within you, this is ultimate slavery, isn't it so? What happens around you, maybe we can decide, but nobody should decide except yourself what happens within you. If you decide, you would keep this in the high state of pleasantness for sure. You wouldn't be battling with anger. It's not just about anger, fear, stress, tension, don't address them separately. Essentially, your mind is not taking instructions from you. Why? Because you don't know where the damn keyboard is. Yet, we gave you a supercomputer, you do not know where the keyboard is. So one day you did this, something worked, another day you did this, something worked. You know, have you seen people? The radio doesn't work, boom, and it works sometimes. That's not a technology, that's chance. Have you seen this? If something doesn't work, people think, tap, 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 it'll work. And a lot of people are using this for human beings also. Something doesn't work, tap, tap, and it'll work. In Tamil Nadu, there is a saying, "Naalu kudutha ella sariyaidu." That means, if you slap them 4 times, everything will get fixed. Doesn't get fixed like that.
Welcome back to Center of Light. We've been speaking about Center of Light composure. When and how do we compose ourselves? That is the purpose of this presentation. As an individual, as a nation. The Will Smith Chris Rock slap. You post about it, you're a part of it. There's no way out of it. We plug into a consciousness of violence and anger. Whether it's true or not is irrelevant. Everyone involved believes it to be true as to why they post it. I understand. It's funny. Ha! Well, that funniness is not so funny when we understand that it disguises and drowns out the unconsciousness, the anger, the depression, the violence. People understand anger and violence. There you have it. It's time to rise above it. Push come to shove it. Sadhguru said, someone who can determine how you feel about yourself from within, is this not the ultimate slavery? If you determine how you feel according to how everyone else feels about you, you become a slave in your mind by minding what they think about you. It's the ultimate slavery. Creates anger, violence. Many people are so consumed about what others think. It is the greatest prison. It is the greatest prison. for the human being. Anger, what is it? Let's use a picture instead of words. My Google just went off. What is anger? So instead of using words, I'm going to describe it in picture form. It eats away at the self. It has been said by many spiritual teachers, especially Louise L. Hay, in her book, You Can Heal Your Life. Anger is cancer manifested in the physical body, in the world of the obvious, where it can no longer be ignored and or denied. What is the relationship? What does it feel like to be angry? Feels like you're on fire. You want to Will Smith somebody. So much so that you don't realize you're doing this over and over, probably more likely than not, carried over from another experience in your existence. That's why you're still experiencing it. What is cancer? Cancer eats away at the body. Anger eats away at the self. We have to learn how to cool down. Enter cameo appearance. Check out this guy. He fell from depression. Anger turned inward. The loss of a relationship, a partner relationship. He was so depressed. Anger turned inward. But all the things he thought he'd probably done wrong. Dark night of the soul. And one night when he was sleeping or meditating, I'm paraphrasing, but you get the idea. He started to fall inside of himself. So much so that a voice spoke to him from within and said, do not resist. And he didn't. The next morning when he woke up, a sparrow lit on his windowsill. And he was in love with that sparrow and everything it meant. He could see the colors the sparrow was singing as it would tweet. For the next 2 years, he found himself sitting on a park bench feeding pigeons and realized that everything everyone in the universe is searching for has happened to himself. Eckhart Tolle, however you pronounce his name.
Hi. I often feel overwhelmed by anger. So and that anger makes me throw my spiritual practice really out of the window. So it's like a big impotence that I feel and pessimism. So it's not gonna work anyway. So just the hell with it.
Yes.
And that's one thing. And the other thing is, I also feel very often that something is wrong, so that I need to take some action to correct something that probably is just imaginary, so it's unreal. So there is no action needed, most probably, but I have to do something about it. So and I get carried away by that. For example, right now I feel my heartbeat very strongly. And I guess there's no reason for that, but
well, you're doing public speaking right now, so maybe that's why. And that's fine. You acknowledge that the heart is beating, and you let that be. And what the feeling that something is wrong, that's not a personal problem of yours. It's a universal human condition that to carry that feeling inside that something is wrong, and then the mind looks for what can I do about this, or where is the thing that's wrong, and then it misinterprets situations. So anger When anger comes, of course, the energy field of it immediately flows into your mind, and the thoughts that you then think are reflections of the anger. The anger makes you think certain thoughts, and as you put it, it says all that spiritual stuff obviously doesn't work.
Yeah.
These are thoughts that come out of the anger, the energy field.
Yes, or whatever I do, it's gonna be always the same, and no
Yes.
point of it because it's not going to work. So
Yes.
that's the kind of thoughts that it generates.
Yes. But next time it happens, see if you are able to, in addition to thinking those thoughts, well, at the same time, you can be aware that these are thoughts that have arisen out of the energy field of anger. In other words, see if you can have an awareness. It's not easy with anger because it comes so suddenly. Whether you can have an awareness not only that there's the energy of anger flowing through you, but also perhaps that the energy of anger, which may be old anger that has lived in you for a long time, pain body, I call it, which can easily then rise into your mind and control your thoughts. Are you able to stay aware while it happens and recognize anger as an expression of the pain body? And if you're thinking angry thoughts, to realize that these are the thoughts of anger. Anger is thinking these thoughts. They are not true. So they are simply thoughts that reflect the energy field of anger. So the experiment then is whether you can stay aware as the observer or the witness of those thoughts and of the energy field of anger. You may not. I'm just suggesting it as an experiment. Whether or not you're able to stay present depends on how much presence there is already in you, how much presence power there is already in you. Perhaps after having spent some time here with us, there may be more presence power in you because this energy field is helpful for drawing that out of you. Once you are there as the witness, then changes begin to happen. You don't even have to do anything. You know what I mean by witness. It's simply to witness, to be aware of the energy so that you don't become completely identified with it. So the witnessing consciousness is in the same way that you now witness perhaps a certain nervousness. Your heart is beating. There may be a certain nervousness as you stand there. And you witness, there's the nervousness and there's the heart beating. And the witness allows everything to be as it is. But there's then a deeper dimension in you from where you can say, my heart is beating. I feel nervous energy inside me. These are still verbalizations, but beyond the verbalization, there's the ability to simply see it, so to speak. Then that will change all the old patterns. The more awareness comes in, the more the old patterns will change. So you don't have to change yourself, because that's complicated. Many people try to do that. I have to change myself. The most powerful, the real change comes with becoming aware of whatever is happening inside you, so that the anger is no longer you, the anger is anger, and you are the awareness. You know it, you see it, you feel it. There it is. And that's the decisive shift from being the anger to having the anger in your energy field and observing it. It's a wonderful shift. So use anger as your spiritual practice. If you fail, of course, anger will immediately say, you see, you failed again, you can't do it. That's the anger speaking.
There is something wrong with you.
Yes, particularly that there's something wrong with me. Now, I don't know if you may be surprised to know that there are millions, billions of people on the planet who have that same thought pattern, there's something wrong with me. It's part of the human ego. But so you bring in the awareness, and that will change everything. That's the only true key. If you fail, next time the anger arises, what happens, you will become aware immediately after the anger has subsided. And then, oh, there it was, and I wasn't present. And then the moment will come when you are there in the first, if you can catch the anger the first moment it comes, or if you might even see that it could be the result of a thought that creates the anger, and if you can be there in the first moment before it becomes the fully blown anger, then you can stay there, and it might not even become fully blown anger if you catch it the first moment. You can feel the first stirrings of anger. You may only have 3 seconds. It may come very quickly. Anger is like an explosive energy. You may only have 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds to stay there with your awareness and feel it. Oh, it's coming. There it is. That's the pain body, the angry pain body coming. And if you catch it in the early stage, don't suppress it. By catch it, I mean feel it, be there as the witness. Then you can stay even as it grows, the witness grows with it. It may not even grow. We'll have to see whether it still grows into full-blown anger or not. That doesn't matter. And so you be thankful for your anger, because the anger can become a very important spiritual practice for you, because through it, awareness can grow. So it's sometimes strange for people to see you can be thankful for things that you think are the most difficult obstacles in your life, but they can become your greatest opportunity for spiritual awakening. Use it as part of your practice.
Yeah, I think the most difficult thing to deal with is impotence, when you feel it's not going to work.
Yes, you feel powerlessness.
Yes,
yes,
like deep pessimism. It's not going to work. It's not.
Yes.
You're about to fail.
Yes. And you have to recognize that these are thought forms. They are thoughts that arise in your mind. And when you're aware, you don't need to believe in every thought that arises. You don't no longer, and that's an enormous freedom. You recognize it as a thought that comes from anger, not the truth. It's a thought form that comes from anger, the pain body. And if a thought comes from anger, it's not the truth, it's a distortion. Recognize it and you say, oh, there's another thought form that says something negative, that there's nothing you can do, you might as well give up. Whatever thoughts come, recognize that it's a thought form. Do you see how important that is? Well, perhaps we will meet again in a year's time, and it's always interesting to see how things have evolved as you practice now. What happened to you as you bring awareness into the anger, see what happens to it a year later.
Thank you.
We need to finish now. Thank you. Wonderful. It's just wonderful to see consciousness evolving, awakening in the different human forms in different ways, and that we can be thankful for everything, especially the difficult parts of our life, because without that, there would be no awakening.
Welcome back to Center of Light. Tonight we're speaking about composure. How do we compose ourselves? Well, let's reflect on something that Eckhart Tolle said. The pain body, anger, the pain body, anger, it comes very fast. You have a maximum of seconds to catch yourself. The pain body, anger comes very fast, like an engulfing fire. I added my own little thoughts to this. Like an engulfing fire. But I tell you, the light of awareness. We've all heard the expression, in the light of awareness. Simply being aware changes the whole dynamic. There's nothing else to do. No more work. Just becoming aware of the energy that is robbing you of your power, conscious power. The pain body, anger, comes very fast, like an all-engulfing fire. The light of awareness, the change in the awareness of it. There's nothing else to do. So you see, ultimately, spiritual liberation, spiritual work, be it religious, if that's what you are, it's still spiritual. Your whole life is spiritual. Whether you're using the bathroom, it doesn't matter. But it's really all about, hello Bella Dreamshade, it's really all about awareness. Awareness of what? All of it. If you want to reach all of it, which is all ever conscious, all ever present, all ever powerful, we have to become the same every minute, every hour full to unite with our divine parent. Speaking of divine parent, my conversation with Spirit many years ago turned into this most recent bestseller, Homecoming: Crossing the Bridge to the Soul. What is the bridge to the soul? The bridge to the soul is awareness. It's awareness that allows us to tread, in all fairness, up the mountain, ever more conscious, to the apex of creation itself. And it looks like you, potentially, and me, potentially, when we look in the mirror. My dialogue with Spirit all those years ago. Tonight is Center of Light, composure, anger, and violence. Spirit starts off, you can live by Spirit's guidance or by human rationale. You can live in trust or live with anxiety and depression. You can choose universal knowledge or planetary ignorance. You can invite peace and love into your heart or hold anger and fear in your gut. You are beginning to see that there are always more aspects of truth to be revealed, and they come in ways you cannot imagine. For example, people that piss you off. And I say and ask, you got that right. It seems like truth shows up when I least expect it. But why is truth so elusive? To keep you out of systematic belief and in expansion mode. Want to know how to get to it? Open your mind, open your heart, continue to open yourself up to me, meaning God, and trust that you are a part of all that is. Trust in your own ability to create a joyous, abundant life. Trust God in you, for I've given you your precious life in the very air that you breathe. Your daunting task now is to move through what has brought about your confusion, chaos, and sickness, guilt, anger, and fear. Good night, Elaine. For the longer they stick around, the longer your conscious connection to the soul will remain severed. Your free will creates your life, and as you are created in my image, your reality is certain to manifest. Keith, do you remember the last chapter wherein I shared with you that the very thing that you are afraid of, you create by the fears you exhibit at any given moment? Yes, I do remember that. Control falls into this category. So even though I know you're easing up all those years ago, even though I know you're easing up on your need to control whenever you can, I suggest we all basically look closer at what we hold dear. Hello, I'm speaking to me. The things and concepts that you are clinging to are just part of the smaller self, the ego, seeking what it thinks it needs for happiness. Perhaps here's a big one. Oh my dear Lord, for all of us. Perhaps you still think your joy rests with other people. All of your relationships going the way you wish them to be. And I say sometimes they are and sometimes they aren't. When they are not, you must dive deeper within yourself. There is no need to give your power away or to burden anyone else, those people we blame that gets us so pissed off that we sometimes become violent. There is no need to give your power away or to burden anyone else by putting your fears and blame on their shoulders. Just share your feelings. That is enough. And I respond, but I get so damn frustrated. Yes, I know you do. I have seen you rise to the boiling point many times. Let me ask you, Keith, how do you feel from the beginning to the end of your anger? Like I must try to take control of the situation, and make it go away. But most of the time, I try my best to not act on what I'm emoting, which is different from feeling. So I just sit there with it. And Spirit responds, and how is that working for you? And I say, evidently, not so hot. Right? Because I still run into the same situation a lot. Spirit responds, do you not see how every time this happens, it means that you are mired, stuck, quicksand, basically, in one of your own illusions. And how every one of those illusions is also an opportunity. Yes, I do. But how do I move? Very important question, honest question, deliberate question. Yes, I do. But how do I move out of the illusion and into the opportunity? You already know the answer to that. You do that by doing what? And I say by letting go of it. And Spirit says, ah, yes, grasshopper. So I suggest the next time that you feel the overwhelming need to control, attempt to control yourself instead. And I respond, letting go through control, that sounds contradictory. Yes, but it works. It just seems and feels so weird every time I try. You may feel panicky at first, but not for long, I assure you. Because once you get used to this inverted dynamic, anger termed within itself is depression. It's self-induced violence, basically. You may feel panicky at first, but not for long, I assure you. Because once you get used to this inverted dynamic, you will begin to notice your resistance disappearing. Beloveds, I assure all of you that the more you practice controlling your need to control, the more proficient you will become at it. And the more you practice, the more you will see how much more you are able to get out of losing control than what you're trying to gain through control. And the benefits will be so much more to your liking. You see, in this period, even though this was 1997, hello 2022 and a half, you see, in this period of high energy movement, Spirit is beginning to reverberate in the temple of your heart, and a love deeper than any of you have ever known is beginning to emerge. Wow! But in order for it to do so, everything else, your grief, anger, fear, depression, violence, etc., must be pushed outward into the physical world so you can view it and clear it away. This explains why things sometimes get shaky, even when you thought things were going so well. So despite my doubts, everything is okay? Yes, Keith, everything is just fine. It may help if you compare this grounding process to the stroking of a pure crystal wine glass. When the glass's rim is rubbed, its resonating properties are activated. Likewise, you are beginning to resonate because you are beginning to be touched by frequencies of the Holy Spirit. And I respond, I understand what you've just said, but how am I supposed to stay motivated to ground myself if only doing so invites more trouble? Good question. Spirit. Grounding is not the cause of your troubles, but it will be the end of them, because grounding yourself will help you deal with the movement of such energies and eventually clear them. Up until recently, you do not even realize that you have a root chakra, and you did not know that if your root chakra is unbalanced, the other centers in the body cannot function properly. You did not know that the neglect of this center invites problems such as fatigue, anger, depression, deteriorating health, and eventually an untimely death. The cave you fear to enter may hold the light that you seek. Scary shit. What can be more scary than facing the unconscious demons? The consequences, I tell you, that will arise from not doing so. You see, because if it's emotional, it can't hurt you physically. You see, because imagine you're going to go into a haunted house or face the devil. This is not a physical thing. It's a mental thing, for sure, which creates an emotional going awry-ness. And because we think that that's who we are, we think we're our thoughts, and we think we're our, not per se, feelings, emotions. And we are so body imaged oriented. But none of this is real. Ghost demons can't hurt you. They may mentally and physically sabotage you, which is choosing to sabotage yourself. So either way, you're always okay. You're always okay. You will always exist. Center of light, composure. Can you face the devil? Who's the devil? It looks exactly what you don't look like when you look in the mirror. But ever so clear, it seems to appear. Perception, belief, lack of understanding, misunderstanding, anger. You're mad. I get it. I'm going to offer this to you. You're a mad one. Great. You want some therapy for your anger? When no one's around, go into your bedroom and punch the living shit out of a pillow. Fall into the fire. Of your anger. The quagmire of your anger. But don't let yourself out of it until you're done with it. You can take it bit by bit. You can. I keep doing this because I just ate some amazing sesame seed crackers. Delort. Tastes like bacon. But don't let yourself out until you're done with it. Stay with it. You see, increment by increment over the years. It's too long. Creates many other not necessary problems. Go in yourself, in your room, and deal with it. Face the demons. Face the devil. ultimately face yourself. Get your fight out. And you do that by going in. That's the only way you will win. And rise above your anger and self-induced violence. Chill out. Calm down. You're safe. Stop being so mad. It doesn't go anywhere. But Keith, you don't understand my situation. Maybe I don't. But I've had my own. So I do. Your anger for your situations are no different from the anger of my situations. You see, we're all in this together differently. Snowflake, fingerprint. Leave behind a legacy of consciousness for those all around you, especially your offspring. Be peaceful, be joyful. The gate is open. The doors are off the hinges, in fact, for those who are choosing consciousness. And for those who are choosing anger and violence, self-induced violence. There is no key that can be found to release you from the fires of our own chosen hell. Set a spell with yourself. Become aware. It's all you got. It's all there is. Awareness is everything. In the light of awareness, everything itself becomes illumined. Illuminate yourself. Set yourself on fire consciously. Anger is the inner fire out of balance. Fall into the fire consciously. Ignite the world. Peace, love, and you are sexy.